person reportedly beheaded. The Sotloff video was found by a group responsible for releasing the fake Osama bin Laden video years ago, directly working for the Pentagon. Very interesting. And now a top U.S. general, we played this last hour, has come out, General McCurney, and said, quote, "We helped build ISIS. They have Stinger missiles." Now, again, we've literally told you that thousands of times since it happened. That's now been proven accurate and admitted. And they're now bracing for what they call imminent terror attacks on the southern border, specifically Fort Bliss in El Paso. We have former Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, who flew in last night to El Paso. Special reports filed at Infowars.com, video reports. He'll be joining us with inside intel on, is this a hyped-up threat or is it real, coming up at the bottom of the hour. But what are our borders doing? Wide open. They shot video weeks ago and again last night of the border fences open at night and people just walking back and forth. This is ridiculous because Joe Biggs got pulled out of line and groped and grabbed with the naked body scanners. And he was talking about coming back from Afghanistan through Germany one time into the United States. And he was in a wheelchair with shrapnel all over his body. And they had stuck him back in his uniform. And they literally had Homeland Security for an hour questioning him, saying, "Why is there explosive residue on your uniform?" And he said, "Are you kidding?" Because he had a cast on his leg and his arm and stuff. And he said, this was all sutured up and closed up in Afghanistan, buddy. Of course there's explosive residue. They were so stupid that they called in the police and FBI and people until they said, yeah, let him go. That's how screwed up this country is. You got a veteran with no criminal record who they could just search his name, and there was like Rolling Stone and Esquire articles about him already, in his uniform. And they're saying, why is there residue of gunpowder or explosives? And he kept telling them, with a morphine drip, being pushed through, I'm flying in from Ramstein. I'm flying in from the hospital. Rick Perry has been indicted for threatening to veto state funds to a state agency administered by the county because the district attorney was running around flailing and basically resisting police, had to have a spit mask put on her, pointing her finger at him, going, boom, boom, I'll get you, and then rolling around on the ground, kicking her feet in a tantrum and biting. On video. And he said, you can't run this state agency, and so they've indicted him. Dinesh D'Souza is facing 10 years in prison for giving political contributions that I think were legal. Other governors have been indicted. I'm just pointing out that veterans can't fly in America without being groped, but the border is wide open. And here it is today from CNS News. Judge sets hearings for illegal alien minors 4 years from now. Yeah, that's what the order is from Obama, 3 to 5 years before there's a hearing. So the judge said 4 years. 17-year-old Kristen stepped through the swinging wooden door, separating the crowded waiting area from the judge's bench, straightening his slightly too big dress shirt as he slid behind the defendant's desk, as his lawyer took the seat beside him, which is paid for by taxpayers. He sipped on the court-approved headphones so he could hear the Spanish-speaking translator, and his lawyer began to speak. And then they went on to basically say, okay, we'll talk to you again in 4 years. And the next person was brought forward. Immigration group. Surge will cost schools $761 million just in the first year alone. But Boehner says Obama could get immigration reform next year. They already did it by fiat. So they're going, yeah, people are disappointed. Latinos disappointed. We didn't get the amnesty. You already did. But again, as if people that are Hispanic should automatically want open borders. Just, oh, I want open borders to collapsing third world because I'm an American citizen. Because that's what you're supposed to do. And if you're a woman, you're supposed to vote for Hillary. And if you're black, you're supposed to vote for Obama. And I guess if you're from Texas, you're supposed to buy a Ford or a Chevy. I mean, it's just mindless. Oh, I like Obama. Yeah, he gave me free health care. Really? Did you get free health care? Well, actually, my payroll tax went up. Oh, really? And they admit the death panels are real last weekend in the New York Times. Meanwhile, there are multiple reactors built right on fault lines in California with the big earthquake they had a few weeks ago. They're saying an 8.0 or bigger. University experts, seismologists, you name it, and federal experts. We went and interviewed them. They say, no, it'll go Chernobyl or Fukushima if there is a 8.0 or bigger on those fault lines. And it's the only part of the Ring of Fire that's not triggered yet. Southern California right up into Oregon. Why did they build the Devil's Canyon reactors, 2 of them? Why not build them on top of Mount St. Helens? That's probably more stable than where they built them. You know Mount St. Helens? I was at a restaurant this weekend, and the manager came by. He didn't know who I was. He was wearing a George Washington crossing the Delaware tie. And I said, man, I love your George Washington tie. And he said, you know, my grandson was over this weekend, and he didn't know what it was. He didn't know who George Washington was. And what does that say about that guy? He probably sees his grandkids a couple times a year, and his children have not taught them who George Washington is. There's a reason there's no Hollywood movies about George Washington, because it was so epic, so over the top. It wouldn't be believed, because truth is stranger than fiction. But the military knows who George Washington is, because the Army at least taught that up until about 20 years ago. And so now they're like, George Washington, by the way, is bad. The military's, well, why is he on our Purple Heart? So now they're talking about taking George Washington off the Purple Heart. They told Navy SEALs don't wear the Gadsden flag, even though it's a flag used by the Navy and John Paul Jones, the founding of the Navy. Navy SEALs can't wear it because our loving government said so. And you can't say take back America because Obama said it's racist. But if Joe Biden wants to, you can see it's about them setting reality and lecturing everyone. And telling everyone what they can do and what they can't do. I mean, it's tyranny. It's control freak. It's not liberal. Let's go to your phone calls. Mark in Illinois. Thank you for calling in today. Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm all right, brother.
Good. I want to talk about those fake videos. And my friend showed me this picture the other day on the internet, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if you've seen it or not. But it's this Alex Israel, her name is, I guess. And then she's a former classmate of Adam Lanza. And they had her on CNN as she was on there speaking about Adam Lanza being her former classmate. And then she's also in this video with James Foley, same girl. I swear to God, Alex, it's the same girl. If you see the picture, and she's saying that she's James Foley's sister. It's the same girl. If you see this, it's amazing. It is the same girl.
Well, you know, there's a lot to that with actors and things being used. Clearly, they're doing some of that. Clearly, some of this stuff is staged. Send me the info. I appreciate your call. You know, there's a story we're going to paste over to Infowars.com. Missing Libyan jetliners raise fears of suicide airliner attacks on 9/11. Islamicists have taken over the Tripoli airport, the same people our government put in there, and now have nearly a dozen commercial jetliners that they could use as weapons. And again, our government 3 years ago put them in and took over the country. Simply incredible. And there's photos of it as well with the Libyan Airways and other aircrafts that are there with the burning airport now that they've taken it over. Let's go ahead and go to another phone call here. Let's go ahead and talk to Matt in Washington, D.C.
Hey, Alex. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan and been listening to you for years. I'm a Prison Planet member, and I just wanted to bring up the idea of, compassion and how a lot of people around the country think that standing up for people is important and listen to your show. But I think it goes to the point that all conscious creatures need to be protected, and it adds to hypocrisy I see in America when you talk about fighting for people who can't fight for themselves, and then you talk about having a brisket for your lunch.
Break that down for me again.
Well, I just feel that we talk about compassion and we care about people who can't fight for themselves, like unborn children and people who don't know what's really going on against them with the government. So I just wanted to, I would like your comment about how you feel about the 2012 Declaration of Consciousness that Cambridge University came out with, saying that all creatures have consciousness and are aware of their surroundings. And I think it would help the movement if we could incorporate those two, not necessarily, the PETA extremists who want to kill the animals who don't have good enough lives.
Look, that's obviously I don't like to hurt. Here's the thing. Prey animals are meant to be eaten, like cows and deer and rabbits and things like that. Humans are somewhat predatory. In fact, Nico wanted me to cover it last week. It was a great idea. I never covered it. A study came out where they want to genetically engineer predators, lions and stuff, so they don't eat gazelles, because that's, quote, mean. I mean, we are what we are. It's our nature.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants.
So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
The last caller brought up a question that could be a whole 3-hour debate. I know this, though. The main animal rights movement has a lot of well-meaning people in it, but its main goal at the top is to take control of private property and to let government, quote, represent other life forms, to then claim that it vetoes human votes. And with the rise of the robots and the rest of it, the globalists don't need people anymore. They don't need the large numbers of people. There's also a radical plan to phase out Earth's predatory species. And we'll cover that coming up in the next hour. I want to go to more of your calls, and we've also got Joe Biggs coming up. But it's about social engineers playing God. I do agree, though, that factory farm chicken and not treating the animals humanely and not thinking about where it came from hurts us as well, not just the animals, because we get all the toxins and all the stress that they've gone through, and they start irradiating the food. They start, feeding it antibiotics because they don't care about the chickens. We don't care about the chickens or pigs. Well, the globalists don't care about us either. We all lower our values and really create a hellish world. And the more we lower our values, we don't get a better deal or higher quality. We get a very ugly, fly-by-night, one-night stand, dishonorable culture. Seth in Ohio on Ebola. Yeah, the head of the CDC says it's set to be 100,000 cases by December. This is definitely the biggest outbreak ever, and I think is a real threat. What's your take on Ebola, Seth?
Well, I just thought it was kind of weird that right before the information about it started coming out, I think it was on TNT or TBS, they aired a series called The Last Ship, basically about a deadly virus getting loose in Egypt, I think it was, and then spread across the country or the world.
And then let me guess, I didn't see the show. Is there one ship left with people alive on it?
You got it right. Well, one ship of ours, and then they continually fought against a single Russian ship.
So there's 2 ships left in the world. They're not working together.
Nope.
Well, notice every theme is about how we fight with each other instead of working together. And the only way to work together is through the UN, which, again, the globalists control. That's how they control both sides of the debate. There are literally scores of TV shows and movies out about how humans are all about to be killed and the end of the world. They're just getting us ready for the controlled bioweapons release that the eugenicists are preparing for. And notice they have a vaccine coming out as well, so you can take that and be saved from the Ebola. The whole thing's very suspicious. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's basically, I mean, it's almost word for word about what's going on now and what happened on that show. You know, they had a doctor from the CDC on the boat trying to create a vaccine.
Well, I don't think they're going to release a super pandemic right away that wipes everybody out. But with all the GMO testing and cross-species manipulation going on and viral research, basically at a nanotech level, it's very easy for a mistake to happen that wipes everybody out. And the globalists know that. That's why they're building human seed banks, biological seed banks, plant seed banks, ARCs, as they call them. It's why elites are building underground facilities, private and public, for themselves everywhere at a very, very quick pace because they believe the world's carrying capacity has been reached and it's going to collapse. So they want to go ahead and hasten that collapse and have a controlled demolition rather than a uncontrolled demolition that may end up destroying the planet. That's their argument behind everything they're doing. Let's go to Trey in Louisiana. Thanks, Seth. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to talk about, youth in America, I guess. I know a bunch of my friends. I'm 21 now. I've been listening since I was about 16. And there's a bunch of people who are awake now because of your show. And, I mean, what would you recommend, we do to try to wake up other young people in America? Because it's either, they're awake or they're just so far already gone that it's not even worth trying. So I'm
going to tell a story when we come back, a allegory of that, of good versus evil. That was so epic last night. And I'm going to try to answer your question on the other side. This just broke at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Instead of monitoring ISIS, Obama spied on Americans. Former Pentagon official reveals president has been given granular intelligence on the rise of terror group for over a year, meaning almost none, reports Judge Andrew Napolitano. You also have former top general McInerney coming out saying, quote, "We helped build ISIS." ISIS is al-Qaeda under a new name because our government and others were embarrassed over openly arming them to attack Syria. Our own military said no last year. This time last year, it was epic. Thousands of tweets with photos of officers holding signs over their faces saying, "I will not fight in Syria for al-Qaeda." General Dempsey went and said, "No, we're not going to be part of it." It was a real moment of America finding its soul again, finding the moral capacity to say no. We voted down carbon taxes. We voted down having open borders. We voted down more gun control. Now Obama just does it by executive orders. So the good news is people are waking up. Humanity understands we're in a crisis. Congress has a 7% approval rating, but the establishment doesn't care and is moving forward. So it's the immovable object running into the unstoppable force. It's an epic time to be alive right now. That's why all you-know-what is breaking loose around the world. It's not just here. This is a key time to be alive. Please don't forget this hour is brought to you by MyPatriotSupply.com, MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. The super high-quality, non-GMO, very inexpensive, with a proprietary packaging system that makes them very portable. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex to find their specials, or 866-229-0927. In my view, everybody needs storable foods. This is the place to get it. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. We also carry their full line of food at InfoWarsStore.com. Whatever you do, MyPatriotSupply.com. Now, the caller, it was so epic last night. I hadn't been to Barton Springs but a few times this summer, so I thought I'd go to Barton Springs last night, this big, giant, spring-fed pool on the side of the Colorado River. There was almost nobody there. There were all these bats flying around right at sunset over the water, huge, big pink clouds. And over the little dam spillway, there was just a bunch of people that sounded like demons, yelling and screaming and laughing and starting fights, yelling at people over the fence who'd paid $3 to get into Barton Springs proper. And they sounded and looked like Charlie Mansons. But they were beyond schizophrenics. It looked like they were a group of men, some of them middle-aged, one of them older, just basically saying that they would kill people. Ha, look at you, old man. They'd see people walk around in their swimsuits and make fun of them, trying to get a rise. And finally, as they were threatening people, the police were called. And I thought about every time I'm at Barton Springs, the police are over there writing tickets for people's dogs off a leash in the area that's where the spillway of the springs come out, where you don't have to pay. And a lot of nice folks are over there. But there's also a lot of trashy people. And at an instinctive level, for about 30 minutes while the sun's setting, I just heard the voices and the meanness and them taunting people until they were told the police had been called and they all laughed and left. But it was weird. I was there with some of my friends, and they said, look, just look at the sun setting and the moon coming up. Look at that. That's good. That's God's creation. That's heaven. This way is hell. And you could see towards the Colorado, the city, the evil city, and the night, and these people yelling and screaming and saying horrible things as the beautiful moon came up and the sun set. And it was just an archetype of which way do you want to go. And without people even saying, on both sides of Barton Springs, everyone just turned their backs on these people and looked at the sunset and the moonrise. And I walked up about 200 yards, and probably 60% of the people I saw there, when I say it wasn't busy, there were probably 100 people there instead of 1,000, like there are at peak times or more. They were all, hey, Alex, appreciate what you're doing, appreciate what your work. You know, just turn your back on them, just don't look at them. And it was like the spiritual moment as everyone turned their backs on these people as they yelled for 25 minutes. And they were back in the distance, and they screamed even louder with their hands on the chain link fence like literal demons. Going, look at you, old man. You're going to die, old man. Look at your Speedos and your little such and such. I'd like to kill you. Yeah, come over here and do something, old man. Come over here. And as a man, I wanted to climb over there and literally, you know, Conan the Barbarian, at an instinctive level, tribally, 5,000 years ago, we'd have got together as men and gone over there and dealt with them. But see, now we're domesticated, so we call the police to come do it. But see, they were literally like bad guys out of the Road Warrior. That's what these guys were like, just truly evil. I know I'm right. And I know how epic this evil is that's growing. And I know that we have really bad people in control, and that the elites have just decided to let everything go to hell in a handbasket. Because it is hard to manage stuff and try to have a good world. It's hard to take the high road in some respects until you've done it long enough, and then there's, you don't know any other way. But for people that have learned how to cheat, see, it's an economy based on cheating and manipulation rather than based on quality. And a lot of that is just the general decadence of the population. So we can't just blame the establishment. That's why more and more I get emails going, hey, why are you defending the police? You're the guy that exposed the police state. Well, yeah, I wanted to stop the globalists converting our police to a police state because the globalists are in control. I'm against that. I'm not against the police. The police really believe when they're out violating rights, most of the time they're trying to actually protect people. And you're not going to wake them up just calling them a bunch of scum. And then we're going to end up having a civil war. which is bad for everybody except the controllers. So I don't want to be put in a pen like two roosters to kill each other. I want to be smarter than that. And I'm to blame for letting our government get out of control like this and turn our police into this, or try to. You're to blame. I'm to blame for shopping at big corporate stores instead of, trying to at thrift stores and farmers markets. I mean, I do some of that, but I know the right answers. I know how to live. I know what to do, but I don't do it. Like, I knew everybody was going to sit there and watch those white trash convict type people call people horrible names and just ha ha ha. I mean, they were demons. And I didn't go to my car and get my cell phone and call the police. But maybe that was the right thing to do. It went on for 30 minutes. They finally did call them, and they laughed at everybody and left. And half of me was like, I don't want to call the police and use the system against these people. But then I knew. I said, they'll wait. Criminals know how to wait. They'll wait till they get told the police are coming, and then they'll leave. It was all just their way to be nasty and like the Wicked Witch showing up at the lollipop party and, urinating in the punch bowl. I mean, at a real level, justice was when they were messing with every old man or old woman that walked by. That's what they were messing with. The weak was to go over there, climb over that fence, and pick up. I mean, just. But that was wrong too. Again, last night was a microcosm of just everything else in the world. Where here's these horrible road warrior-like animals, and then the police come over. They're just confused and under pressure and trying to follow orders. And you got the public all sitting there in the middle. What type of culture produced trash like that? I guarantee you trash like that in the Old West wouldn't have been around very long. It's just the decadence of the society has allowed evil to grow. Dishonorable evil. There's always been slick and powerful evil, but just the weakest, most hunchback forms of it are just crawling around everywhere, growing. All right, caller Trey was asking why either his friends are totally awake or they're totally unawake. And how do we wake people up? You've got to explain to people that there's an epic manipulation going on and that they're not being given the truth about how the world really works and that they've been suppressed into a false paradigm of limited information, and that the mysteries of the universe are out there for them to discover and to be free men and women. This is about destiny. And that the globalists really do have it out for humanity. They really have made the decision to be selfish and to dominate. And they're bringing in a tyrannical world government. In fact, I never played this yesterday. I want to play it today after we take calls. Paul Watson did a report. Mainstream news in England, they're banning toasters and vacuum cleaners. They're reducing their power down to a level where they won't even toast bread. They're banning fireplaces, everything. That's now being phased in here. No one believed that they would ban light bulbs here. They did. No one believed they would bring in green police. It's happening. It's about total control. Al Gore said by 2013, the northern and southern ice caps will be completely melted. They grew by 43%, one of them this year, the other 30-something%. That's on record. It's total fraud. Meanwhile, genetic engineering, all these other serious environmental things are going on. Google has come out with a chip that makes machines human. App summons drone with smartphone operating on brain signals. That's AFP. And it would be fine if the robots were being developed and we were creating a future that humanity would be part of. The globalists are designing the architecture where humanity as we know it will no longer exist. That decision has been made. The world is moving in that direction. So you should at least be told about it and at least know it. Bob, and then we'll go to Nate and Judy and Roberto and George. Thanks for calling, Bob, from Michigan. You're on the air.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call, Alex. I hope the signal or the audio is okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, I've been listening to you from the very beginning, so and I was already concerned about the executive orders and stuff way back Nixon, etc., and told people, and they thought I was nuts. Well, they don't think I'm too crazy anymore. First of all, you guys, your family, yourself, and your crew over there in our prayers. This is serious stuff. My big focal point here is this Constitutional Convention, as far as I still know, is locked and loaded. And if they start diverting our attention, especially to all the craziness that's out there right now that you've put up here today, they could go quietly and do this in the middle of the night or during a holiday. I just want you to know that, and for your listeners, that once that is convened, the Constitution itself is in suspension, and that convention becomes the Constitution. And everything that I've read, and maybe there's an update on this, but if you look back in some of the old literature, I'm sure you can Google this, go look at the new state's Constitution. Everything is by privilege and if they feel like it. And it...
well, yeah, it's all under UN law. You have 31 points in the Declaration, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and Article 30 removes all the rights at the pleasure of the UN and the sub-secretary generals. And I've always been against a con, but now via executive power, they're shutting off our power, opening our borders, launching military operations, putting all this bureaucracy in place, going after the guns. And so it is a lot of libertarian Republican movements that are pushing the con to try to block a bunch of stuff, but we already have the Bill of Rights and Constitution and Congress that could be blocking it right now. We already have the laws, so why would a con be needed on a balanced budget when they could just pass that in Congress? Why would a con be needed on the Second Amendment when it's already there? I agree, it's very risky, but I'm not endorsing it. It's just that we're already so destroyed right now that it's almost like pouring gasoline on a ship that's already on fire. I don't know. I mean, do you think good could come out of it? I mean, what do you think?
No, absolutely not. I think only bad can come from it. All we need to do is get some people with a backbone up there in D.C. and tell these people no. These executive orders can be rescinded and blocked in 30 days by the Congress. Will they do it? Absolutely not. They're all bought and paid for or somehow compromised. There's just a handful of people out there right now that even understand how to do this. I think we've been given all the tools we need to fight the tyranny.
Well, I agree with you, and I've talked to a lot of constitutional scholars that agree with my 2 years ago, I came up with my new Declaration of Independence based on Constitution. We don't have to, as the Declaration of Independence says, remove this government and get rid of this form because it's become destructive and it's our right duty to create a new one. The globalists have hijacked America. This isn't the republic. So we simply have the states pull out, declare that the federal government's null and void, and then re-upload the system and have the legislatures vote for who they want to appoint as the new U.S. senators. That would be Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, people like that would get elected from Texas and Kentucky. And we could basically go back to a pre-1913 upload and restore power to the states equally under a true federalist system, not the globalist system we have now where we're run by a globalist think tank system controlling the overpowered central government. I mean, we really do have a collaborator government controlled by offshore interest. We really are a captured nation. We're being used in the exploitation phase, like the communists do, to use American muscle and power to overthrow other countries now. We're in the middle of a global domination game right now, and they've blackmailed Congress. The sky's the limit. I mean, when they put our military under NATO command and they openly arm al-Qaeda to murder Christians and they openly get rid of our borders and they openly waive laws and they openly let illegals fly but citizens can't, I mean, this is only the beginning. That's another, we ought to have a whole show about if they've gotten away with all this, what's coming next? Because if they've already done all this, can you imagine? Can you imagine what's coming now? Well, we know it's arresting libertarians and governors and people that aren't complete communists. I mean, as bad as Rick Perry is, he's conservative compared to Obama or libertarian because he's pro-gun and anti-abortion. So why not just lock him up? I mean, they've got enough laws in this country where everybody's committing a crime. And so everybody just better make a decision which side they're on right now, because Katie barred the door. This is the takedown of America. And it's not going to get better. They don't want to just take it over. They want to take it over so they can persecute people, so they can have their way with us. They are criminals. People say, well, why do they want to do that? Because they're a bunch of howling, out-of-control control freaks. Why would a bunch of white trash thugs want to sit there at the edge of Barton Springs yesterday screaming at old people, calling old women ugly and gross, and making fun of old men and threatening to want to kill people and laughing like demons? Because they're demons, folks. That's why. Well, you got demons running the government. Can you imagine what those demons would do if they could actually have their way with people? If a whole horde of 1,000 such scum would come over the hill to your little farmstead 2,000, 3,000 years ago, anywhere in the world, and what they do to your wife and children out there having a good life? Look at ISIS, just moves on, raping, murdering, burning, sexually mutilating, crucifying. And you look at them, they're all just like those guys I saw yesterday. Absolute trash, scum, and good people haven't stood up against them, and we've let trash grow, and now we're going to reap the whirlwind, folks. So sick of it. Bob, thank you. Nate in North Carolina, you're on the air.
Yay, I made it.
Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, I've got a question for you. I'm a relatively new listener. I've been listening for a few months now, and so I have some questions. So I'm completely with you. I'm pretty much everything you're talking about. You know, I hear what you're saying, but then I also hear things that are positive, like, you know, if we can take them on. We pushed them back on.
Yeah, we have victory when we take action. We have victory when we find our soul again. But at the same time, we're in a death battle. What I'm saying is, it's like tied score in sudden death overtime right now with the New World Order.
But we haven't really fielded a team. I mean, we have a few people out there. We have a kicker or two. But so just using that analogy, I don't see where we're fielding a team. Okay, so the guy that was on the news on Fox, General McCurney or something.
Yes.
I mean, here's my question. Okay, he admitted it. We all know it. Now we know it. So where's the righteous people, like in the streets, doing something about it? So we're all, you know, there's those of us.
I got reporters in the streets. I'm in the streets. I hear you. I talk about it everywhere I go. I mean, I don't know. People say the government has been taken over. So we have to expose it's not a legitimate government at the federal level. We got to get our states in gear. The feds are lined up to try to crush states if the states don't get in line, because they know that's the legitimate avenue to stop this. That's why we need to make friends with good people in government. See, the globalists want us to just hate the government and get in a big fight with it, because that won't be legitimate and that'll bring in a greater tyranny. We have to be sophisticated. We have to reach out to good people in government. They have to reach out to us. Good people and corporations have to reach out to everybody else. Everybody's got to just affect their own circle. I'm going to come back to you, Nate. Don't hang up. Is it Nate or Natalie?
It's Nate.
Okay, Nate, we're going to come back to you. We have to affect our own circle, promote the ideas of liberty, and also stand up to bullies and thugs everywhere you see them. If it's a corporate guy being a thug, if it's your neighbor being a thug, if it's some trashy people being a thugs, if it's cops out of line being thugs, you got to confront evil or it runs wild. No, the truth is our naivete has allowed all this to happen. And now the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee chairman has come out and said user fees, including vehicle miles taxed by the mile, is being considered for U.S. highways. And the boxes now are in all the cars by law. And you pay for it in the price of your vehicle. By the way, it's a global program. Cars worldwide now have it. Unless you're in Russia or Iran. They don't go along with it. Not saying Russia and Iran are good. They just aren't putting cancer viruses in the vaccines for their population. They haven't bought into the New World Order yet. They've bought into their own systems of corruption. But Nate in North Carolina, I mean, what is your specific question or comment? You're saying, you know, Alice, you say some stuff's really positive, some stuff's really negative. Yes, we have a chance to turn things around, but we have to admit how bad the system is and how destructive, or it's going to use the collapse of its own system to bring in an even more evil system. We have to expose their program so people are aware of it. Does that make any sense?
Yes, and to be sounding so negative, I'm actually a very positive person, but and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just the bend is incredible. But so for me, I'm in a situation where me and just a few people are aware to the degree that you are, and so when you try to talk to anybody else, even people that at first, you know, they seem to like have their eyes open to some degree. And then very quickly, you're aware that not only do they not have their eyes open, but they don't even have the vocabulary or the understanding. I'll tell you what, years ago, I went on a mission trip to the old Soviet bloc. And we were going into schools, and we were talking about the Bible, and we were talking about Jesus. And guess what? We could not take Bibles with us because they didn't have a foundation of understanding to even get it where the scriptures were. So what we did, we actually just took like books of Bible stories to begin to even build a vocabulary. That's where I feel like I'm at now with people is there's not even an understanding of the vocabulary.
No, I agree. We need comic books like those chick comic books, but political ones like Chick Tracts that, and I'm not endorsing all the stuff in the Chick Tracts. The point is that little tracts that expose the New World Order, how it works, how its system operates, so that people that are babies to all this have a basic awakening. And that's something I want to do in publishing, is come out with tracts that are basically dealing with liberty issues, Second Amendment, you name it, that are at cost that we can flood out to everybody. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding more and more people that they must be sensing something's wrong, because I'm hearing things like, you know, we'll have to bug out one of these days. And I found that I have to let that go, because I ask them, like, well, what do you mean by that? And then they don't have any idea what they mean by that. So they have a sense of, you know, I'm in the city, things aren't looking good, I don't know, but that's as far as it goes. And that's just an incredibly few people. So I don't know. I'm looking at it, I feel like, in a global situation, and I'm seeing things are in a dire situation, and that it's incredibly pervasive. There's not one area.
Yes.
There's not one area where the righteous right or whatever, I don't know, made that up, is like moving to the forefront and winning. I mean, I don't see one area where we've taken...
Well, that's why Matt Drudge said last year everybody should have an emergency exit plan out of this country. That's why they're making it so hard to get out now. I hear you. Thank you so much, Nate. We're going to come back and go to Judy and go to Roberto and go to Gary and go to George, and that's it for calls, because I got a bunch of news I need to get to here as well. There's just so much of it. Scorned former First Lady says Hollande, kiss and tell, says that he hates the poor. Well, of course he hates the poor. The socialists in France pay almost no taxes, have Swiss bank accounts, and don't get in trouble for it. The anti-free market people, of course they hate the poor. They're always exempt from it. They've got red carpets and jet airplanes and bodyguards. Whether it's Dianne Feinstein or Al Gore or any of these people. Rupert Murdoch's anti-gun and has got bodyguards. Whether it's just any of them, they're all frauds, folks. They know how the world works. They've joined the elite. They're preying on people. The Republican leadership is preying on Republicans, and the Democratic leadership is preying on Democrats. They're part of a corrupt political elite of fraudsters who are dishonorable to the core. Quentin Tarantino, all of them. Coming up, Paul Watson's Nanny State Report. This new cop video that we just tweeted out at Real Alex Jones of a man stands up for his constitutional rights when they were going door to door without a warrant, quote, looking for a felon. And you can say, well, that's for our safety, but why'd we have a Bill of Rights before that said you can't do that? Because it always turns into a tyranny. Ebola patient escapes quarantine center in search of food. Not even feeding him. We have the Jakari Jackson breakdown on the sex tape release. Here's the headlines. Leaks of nude celebrity photos raises concerns about security of the cloud. Folks in the past didn't take their sex photos or photos of their girlfriend or whatever into the local shop to get developed because they wanted privacy. Why would you upload them to a cloud? And again, you were the one that reminded me of that and made that point, CJ, that what are people thinking?
I can't possibly begin to imagine what they're thinking, except for being lazy. We used to have these great little stores in the grocery store in the mall where you can get your photos developed, and family photos were appropriate, but if you had any naughty photos, you'd use a Polaroid, an expensive device that develops pictures instantly for all you young folks that are wondering what a Polaroid is.
Well, it's also the police state issue. Remember all the cases where it would be like two little girls with towels around them and they're hugging each other and they take their kids, even though the social workers say there's no evidence of sexual abuse? I mean, it's look, keep your private stuff private, ladies and gentlemen. It's just ridiculous. You got the Hunger Games, Bombshell, and all of them hopping mad that they wanted to swap naked photos. Sex tapes are coming out. What did you people expect? It was Apple, so you could trust it? The NSA data mines it. Jakari Jackson's report is coming up on that subject. This is all designed, the cloud is designed so they can snoop on you. So, of course, hackers can then exploit that. Use your brains, people. All right, I want to rush through these calls. So I got like 4 or 5 video clips I want to get to. Judy in Florida, thanks for calling. Thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex. I wanted to say one thing about Joe Biggs in the TSA line and the pat down that he experienced. I really think he used a tremendous amount of restraint and was a gentleman, because that guy was dominating him and liking it.
Oh, yeah.
That guy was a nemesis. I mean, I just thought it was disgusting, because the guy knew who he was. I know he knew who he was.
And he was doing it really hard, too.
Yeah, it was a complete jerk. It's like, it just grosses me out. And I had a TSA.
But see, that's government training us to that we put their, we get their hands put on us. But then the border's wide open. It's just all a sick joke.
But they know they know that we know it's a joke. But even those that are halfway awake. But it's just, I can't believe the domination. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's just ridiculous. But I wanted to just bring up. This discussion has been up to my, being able to talk to you has been really astounding, because I was thinking earlier as I was working about how there basically needs to be like more compassion where it's, people are concerned, because I know the people that I talk to that are like customers of mine, or just people in general. When I woke up, which was in 2001 when the major event occurred, that for a couple of days I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, that's how devastating, how shattered my paradigm was. And, I wanted to die. That's how I felt like. I wanted to die, because, everything that I thought was reality was not. And I hear people say, well, I'm going to be gone off this earth soon, or, God's going to take me, or, I just want to bury my head in the sand. I mean, I hear these terms. And it's like, when I look at, there's been a couple of conversations I've had with men where I see the fear in their eyes. And it's like, I don't know if there's a different way that needs to be developed to talk to people. I'm no expert.
Well, you're right. A lot of people you talk to about the New World Order, they feel so disempowered in their own lives. They know stuff's wrong, but don't tell me about it. What can I do? Well, you can stand up for yourself. You can have some respect. You can help other people. All of us having a better attitude, being a free people, will turn this around.
I've talked about, start working on the local level. I know that I've invited Rosa Quarry to come to my area, and hopefully she's going to be able to come in November. I mean, I'm in email correspondence with her now, but it's like, I know a lot of really rich folks that have no idea what sustainable developments are all about, but I know enough to know they're already being affected.
Exactly. So you educate them, then they learn how they're being scammed. They'll start standing up against it. Because if you get the nouveau riche, if you get the middle class, the upper middle class, the wealthy aware of what's going on, they will then understand the larger paradigm, and we'll have a new renaissance. Great points. I'm going to go to Roberto in New York, then I'll go to video clips, and then back to George and Gary. Roberto, thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Yes, hello, Alex. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Nice to talk to you, brother.
Yeah, I realize that the globalists, they kind of count on us to be non-critical thinkers. Like, when you turn on the TV, all you hear about is terrorism.
terrorism. And then when they cover the border, it's all about, oh, don't be racist, don't be racist. And that's kind of like, to me, a father not wanting his daughter to get pregnant, but giving his daughter a bottle of vodka, a hotel room, and $500 on prom night. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like a accident waiting to happen. And I mean, bare minimum, there's been, it's come out that the cartels and the extremist groups have been in contact talking. And I don't understand why it's getting no coverage. Like, no one's making that connection.
I hear you. It's because all these different corrupt cartels, whether it's the drug cartels, the pharma cartels, the police state cartels, the big banking cartels, the Saudi Arabian cartels, they know how to go get influence. They know how to buy politicians. They know how to cut people in on the piece of the action. And now corruption's growing, and it's just eating up the whole economy. And now they have Agenda 21 in the nanny state meant to, get patents on hair dryers that are low wattage, and then you can only buy it from them. I mean, it's just where the whole economy is geared, where only General Electric can have a coal power plant, nobody else can. And where only, this company can operate, or only McDonald's gets a health care waiver, which then makes their food less expensive. I mean, it's just, it's a gamed, rigged system where the whole world is a cross between Las Vegas and a gulag, or the Gulag Archipelago, or the casino gulag that Max Kaiser talks about. Thank you so much for the call. Speaking of the nanny state and Rosa Corey and Behind the Green Mask book that we sell at InfoWarsStore.com, dealing with government and its takeover worldwide, we're under UN treaty, even though we haven't signed on to it. Obama came out this week on Monday and he said, I will put in the carbon taxes on all human activity, a value-added tax on basically all human activity: food, produce, fuel, plastic, electronics, how they can work, air conditioning, carpeting, just everything, basically. We'll have a carbon tax, which also brings in government surveillance, government compliance, where mom and pops can't operate. I mean, Australia's been under this 5 years, and it crippled them, so they're voting it out right now. In fact, they just did. But this is about control. We'll tell you what you can have in your house. We'll tell you what you can do. Nothing to do with the environment. Let's go ahead and go to Paul Watson's report.
The nanny state EU has banned many types of vacuum cleaners and is also set to prohibit kettles, toasters, hairdryers and lawnmowers in the latest example of Eurocrats gone wild. 2 years after a complete ban on incandescent light bulbs, today saw the start of a ban on vacuum cleaners that use over 1,600 watts of power, all in the name of preventing global warming. That same global warming, which over the last 2 years has resulted in an increase in the Arctic Sea ice cap by 42%, or 5.6 million square kilometres, the same ice cap that Al Gore said would vanish completely by 2014. But even if you believe in the dogma of man-made global warming, this EU ban on appliances still makes no sense. If you cut the power of hairdryers by a third, then what are people going to do? They're simply going to use their hairdryers for a third longer. What kind of frigging imbeciles are coming up with these policies? The ban on high-powered vacuum cleaners, or in other words, ones that actually work, has caused a run on popular models in the United Kingdom, with sales soaring by over 50%. Retailers now face government inspections and the prospect of being shut down if they sell anything over a pathetic 900 watts. But that's not all. The European Commission plans to impose energy limitations on another 30 electrical items next year, including toasters, lawnmowers and kettles. And remember, while the EU does its level best to hamstring the free market with pointless restrictions that won't even save energy, China and India are building hundreds of coal-fired power plants every year. This has nothing to do with saving energy or saving the planet. This is about the nanny state burying its tentacles deeper into our private lives, choking consumer freedom and strangling a free market already labouring under an ongoing recession throughout Europe. And it's another perfect reason to get Britain out of the EU if David Cameron ever has the balls to graciously bestow us with a national referendum. Check out the other videos, subscribe to the channel. I'm Paul Joseph Watson. This is Infowars.com.
There you go. There is that breakdown. I want to go to this very powerful cop video here in a moment that's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Man stands up for the Constitution as police demand to enter home without warrant. But Kit Daniels just broke a story up at Infowars.com, and I'm glad he reminded me of this. Missing Libyan jetliners raises fears of suicide airliner attacks on 9/11. That is the Bill Gertz article. It's up on Drudge. But if you go to Infowars.com, we have an update, flashback. 13 airplanes vanished from radar months before theft of jetliners in Libya. Then we see the same make and model of the Malaysian aircraft disappear around Diego Garcia, and then another one magically gets shot down over Ukraine. Alleged hack attack took down air traffic control system in June, highlighting current dangers of missing jets. The disappearance of 11 jetliners in Libya brings to mind the 13 planes that vanished from radar in Europe due to the reported hack attack, highlighting a scenario in which commercial jets invisible to radar are purposely crashed into cities and other critical infrastructure. And that's also a way for them to claim planes disappeared and then have them pop back up later. Back in June, 2 unprecedented blackouts caused 13 planes flying over Europe to disappear from radar screens, leaving air traffic controllers with no information on their location, speed detection or height, and the series of blackouts lasted up to 25 minutes. Several reports suggested air traffic control systems were hacked, according to the Telegraph. Planes disappeared from screens for a matter of seconds here and there. A German air traffic control spokesman said it must have been an external source of disruption. Yeah, they just like on 9/11, their screens blacked out, or other simulated planes got put in by NORAD and other centralized DARPA systems that have control. See, they have backdoors in the cell phones, the cloud, your smart meters. These are the little robots that are in control of everything, controlled by Skynet, the globalist eugenicist. And so now they're announcing in Tokyo, robot cops to watch the public, robot cops to be in malls in England, robots to serve people their food at hotels and hospitals. And again, robots won't tattle if you're being given a lethal injection nobody knows about. Robots won't care about war crimes. Robots won't say no delivering Stinger missiles to Al-Qaeda. It's the fact that we are entering an absolute science fiction time. Let me tell you, nobody should be bored right now, because this is an epic time to be alive. Alex Jones here for Infowars.com. We're going to be intensifying our efforts to awaken free humanity to the scourge of the globalist in the month of July. And starting this July 4th, we are going to slash prices in a celebration of true Americana, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence on all of the Made in America products that you will find at madein1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in brass and nickeled brass that state it loud and proud. Molon Labe. That's why we have the best-selling Made in America men's and women's Molon Labe Infowars.com shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a win-win. You vote with your dollars. You support the most hardcore organization out there for promoting true ideas of libertarianism, constitutionalism, basic human empowerment. But more importantly, you get T-shirts and belt buckles so you can meet like-minded people. So you have a conversation starter with friends and family and coworkers. We are reaching out to each other. And you also throw it in the face of the anti-gunners and the rest of the parasites out there that you're a free man and woman, and that you're not going to be a slave, that you're not going to be intimidated to shut up by their tyranny that they call political correctness. That's why in the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at madein1776.com. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the biggest special in the history, 13 years of PrisonPlanet.tv, our multimedia platform. We're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv, and you get 11 memberships that can be used with the same username and passcode so you can share it with friends and family. Now is the time to fund the war bonds. Now is the time to fund the InfoWar. Now is the time to get aggressive. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to realize you are the people that made the InfoWar so successful and one of the leading lights worldwide against tyranny. You don't stand behind us, you stand right beside us. And I salute all of you on this July 4th, 2014, and going forward in the month of July and onward. This is about freedom worldwide and that desire for human dignity and self-determination that beats in the human breast. We are brothers and sisters together in the true spirit of liberty and the animating contest of liberty. And so I quote in closing the great Thomas Jefferson that I have sworn on the altar of God resistance against every form of tyranny. And never forget, if you are watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.